The Infrastructure Management Institute at Northern Kentucky University is a groundbreaking educational resource in the area of information technology. It is no accident that the IMI and DBA Direct are connected by much more than Interstate 275. CEO John Bostic is an original foundation supporter of the IMI's mission. IMI Executive Director Tim Ferguson is charged with advancing that mission, one of collaboration and effective competition.
IMI and relationships with like DBA Direct and other organizations we have here is probably the most unique yet challenging but biggest opportunity to impact a region, an IT community that there is. And it is really partnerships with companies like DBA Direct that allow these types of things to happen. And we, day by day, are impacting the talent imperative that we have in this country, the talent imperative we have in this region. And IMI is doing that with our College of Informatics and here at the university. But again, it takes companies like DBA Direct to engage with those institutions and really to want to make a difference, which is what they're doing.
The two organizations share a critical underlying philosophy about technology and global competition. It shouldn't get in the way of what's important. And that's growing a business on differentiating business initiatives and by minimizing the resources and energy that are directed towards technology. In DBA Direct's case, the remote administration of corporate databases.
They are one of the innovators in the managed service space. They have been doing that for quite a while, and they are definitely in the innovation mode in trying to bring more and more services to their client base and prospective clients. Their history with IMI was all about how do we think outside the box and doing things differently than we've always done them in the past. I think many IT organizations get caught up in really doing it next year the way they did it the previous year, and they don't think about how to do it differently. And I think that's some of the dynamics that a company like DBA Direct can bring to the table, is how can we leverage innovation that's occurring externally for internal movement forward from a technology perspective. And that's exactly what DBA Direct is doing for organizations. I've talked to several firms that are clients of DBA Direct, and they all are very strong on the technology, the services provided, and the fact that it is bringing a step forward for them when it comes to best practices, streamlining, ISO certification, and various compliance issues that they no longer have to deal with that issue day to day. They've been able to trust a managed service provider that's very good at that to provide that service, and they see it as a win-win in that scenario.
In his role at the IMI, Tim Ferguson must keep an eye on the key trends and topics of interest for IT leaders. It should come as no surprise that top of mind in a lot of IT shops are things such as security, governance, and compliance.
Folks are spending more, paying more attention to security today than they ever have. So we have a lot of companies coming to us, and it's surprising to me sometimes the level of organizations, but they've sort of done the best practice implementation for security. They've installed product X, Y, and Z, but they still do not feel quite secure, or they where they need to be, and are putting some significant dollars into that environment. So I think what we're trying to do is facilitate how they really take that next step when it comes to security and governance and compliance.
The question of IT talent often comes up in discussion of collaboration because the perception is that there is less and less of it in the marketplace.
There has been a reduction in the number of students that are coming out with a bachelor's degree in an IT-related field, and I think that comes down to issues such as outsourcing and those things. But what we're seeing right now is a new upswing in demand for IT talent. And I think in this region in particular, our region is actually overwhelmed with the need for IT talent, and the educational institutions here are not prepared to facilitate that. So I think with IMI, this university has put ourselves in a good situation to fulfill those needs, especially the fact that the needs have changed on what an IT graduate is. An example of that is Northern Kentucky University has a new college that's labeled the College of Informatics, which is really where I think everybody that's teaching in a higher ed institution should be thinking about, which is really applied IT. It's not sitting in a corner and writing code. It's how do you apply technology to real-world problems? And that's really the basis for our new College of Informatics, which is where IMI fits on campus, as it fits within the College of Informatics at NKU.
The IMI is an organization that promotes innovative IT management solutions, and Ferguson says a lot of it is coming from managed service providers.
More and more organizations are open to using managed service providers, and I think that what I have seen is that you used to think about larger organizations that would consider outsourcing their IT needs or going to an MSP for particular things. You now have very small organizations going to an MSP to do the work they need to do, whether it's monitoring their databases or whether it's monitoring their network and infrastructures. And I think what that has caused, that demand, is allowed the MSPs to really get much more sophisticated in the technology they use to provide their service. And I see that, over the last 2 years, and something that's actively going on now, is that is a trend that's going on. And as those small to medium organizations continue to reach out for those services, I think the innovation will even be more quickly evolving than it is today. And I think organizations that are now looking at MSP solutions isn't the traditional organizations either. I think city, county government, state government are all looking at those areas to try to really focus on where they, as a talent source, to get the talent they need from those organizations, such as database. They don't really have the database skills on site. They reach out into an MSP to actually get the resource that they need.
You can check out the various resource centers at the Infrastructure Management Institute by visiting online at infrastructuremanagementinstitute.org or by calling 859-572-7610 or by email at imi@nku.edu. Thanks for listening.